What? What is this? You may ask. Well, viewer, this is the Time magazine for the Columbine tapes. That was printed December 20th, 1999. And obviously the person etched out their details, which is good. You don't want that broadcasted. But I was just taking a look at this. There's some like advertisements and unrelated stuff. Dynamic delivery for an intense web experience. Man, it's so old. But I really want to get to the nitty gritty stuff, so I'm just gonna kind of skip over this and get to the actual stuff that you care about. So I'll just kind of like be reading a little bit, and I'll showcase the pages featured in this magazine. I know not everyone has a copy of the magazine, but I was thinking about broadcasting it. Here we go. So, special report. Columbine tapes. Just get a good footage right there. In 5 secret videos they recorded before the massacre, the killers revealed their hatreds and their lust for fame. So, natural-born killers waited until the parents were asleep upstairs before heading down to the basement to put on their show. The first videotape is almost unbearable to watch. Dylan Klebold sits in the tan lazy boy, chewing on a toothpick. Eric Harris adjusts his video camera a few feet away, and then settles into his chair with a bottle of Jack Daniels and a sawed-off shotgun in his lap. He called it Arlene, after a favorite character in the gory Doom video games and books that he likes so much. He takes a small swig. The whiskey stings, but he tries to hide it, like a small child playing grown-up. Do not think we're trying to copy anyone, Harris warns, recalling the school shootings in Oregon and Kentucky. They had the idea long ago, before the first one ever happened. A picture of some police, probably Jeffco police. They're holding the weapons used in the Columbine shooting. I recognize those guns. Harris and Klebold have an inventory of their hatred. All niggers, spics, Jews, gays, fucking whites, the enemies who abused them and the friends who didn't do enough to defend them. But it will all be over soon. I hope we kill 250 of you, Klebold says. He thinks it'll be the most nerve-wracking 15 minutes of my life. After the bombs are set, we're waiting to charge through the school. Seconds will be like hours. I can't wait. I'll be shaking like a leaf. It's gonna be like fucking Doom, Harris says. Tick, 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 tick. Ha! The fucking shotgun is straight out of Doom. How easy it has been to fool everyone as they staged their dress rehearsals, gathered their props, the shotguns in their gym bags, the pipe bombs in the closet. Klebold recounts for the camera the times his parents walked in on him when he was trying on his black leather trench coat with his sawed-off shotgun hidden underneath. They didn't even know it was there. Once, Harris recalls, his mother saw him carrying a gym bag with the gun handle sticking out of the zipper. She assumed it was his BB gun. Every day, Klebold and Harris went out to school, sat in class, had lunch with their schoolmates, worked with their teachers, and plotted their slaughter. People fell for every lie. I could convince them that I'm going to climb Mount Everest, or I have a twin brother growing on my back, says Harris. I can make you believe anything. Even when it is over, they promise it will not be over. In memory and nightmares, they hope to live forever. We're going to kickstart a revolution, Harris says, a revolution of the dispossessed. They talk about being ghosts who will haunt the survivors, create flashbacks from what we do, Harris promises, and drive them insane. It's getting late now. Harris looks at his watch. He says the time is 1:28 a.m., March 15th. Klebold says people will note the date and time when watching. He knows what his parents will be thinking. If only we could have reached them sooner or found this tape, he predicts they'll say. If only we would have searched their room, says Harris. If only we would have asked the right questions. Since then, we've never stopped asking. Of course, in our aching effort to get back on our feet, slowly, carefully, only to be pushed back down again. And what if the answers turn out to be different from what we've heard all along? A 6-week time investigation of the Columbine case tracked the efforts of the police and the FBI, who were still sorting through some 10,000 pieces of evidence, 5,000 leaves, the boys' journals, the websites, and the 5 secret home videos they made in the weeks before the massacre. Within the next few weeks, the investigators are expected to issue their report, and their findings are bound to surprise a town, a country that has heard all about the culture of cruelty, the bullying, jocks, and has concluded that 2 ugly, angry boys just snapped and fired back. It turns out there's much more to the story than that. What if their motive was rage at the athletes who taunted them? Didn't they take their guns and bombs to the locker room? Because retaliation against specific people was not the point. Because this may have been about celebrity as much as cruelty. They wanted to be famous, concludes FBI agent Mark Haslaw, and they are. They're infamous. It used to be said that living well is the best revenge. For these two, it was to kill and die in spectacular fashion. This is not to say that humiliation Harris and Klebold felt was not a cause. Because they were steeped in violence and drained of mercy, they could accomplish everything at once, pay back to those who hurt them, and glory, the creation of a cult for all those who had suffered and been cast out. They wanted movies made of their story, which they had carefully laced with a lot of foreshadowing and dramatic irony, as Harris put it. There was that poem he wrote, imagining himself as a bullet. Directors will be fighting over the story, Klebold said, and the boys chewed over which could be trusted with the script, Steven Spielberg or Quentin Tarantino. You have 2 individuals who wanted to immortalize themselves, said Haslaw. They wanted to be martyrs and to document everything they were doing. These boys had read their Shakespeare. Good wombs hath borne bad sons, Harris quoted from The Tempest, as he reflected on how his rampage would ruin his parents' lives. The boys knew that once they staged their final act, the audience would be desperate for meaning, and so they provided their own poisonous chorus about why they hated so many people so much. In the weeks before what they called Judgment Day, they sat in their basement and made their haunting videos, detailing their plans, their motives, even their regrets, which Harris left in his bedroom for the police and his parents to find when it was all over. And I just kind of want to zoom out real quick and show like what the page looks like. So you have Brooks Brown sitting in what appears to be like a diner or something. He's like smoking a cigarette, probably drinking some alcoholic beverage. Not sure what it is, can't really see it in the photo, but it's pretty interesting. And then of course you have a pic of Eric Harris in the upper left corner, and then football team to show like hatred towards jocks, I'm assuming, or athletic people. Let's continue. The dilemma for many families at Columbine is ours as well. For months they have searched for answers. It's not going to bring anything or anybody back, says Mike Kirkland, whose son survived a shot in the face. But what we do need to know, why did they do this? Still, the last thing survivors want is to see these boys on the cover of another magazine, back in the headlines, on the evening news. We need to understand them, but we don't want to look at them. And yet there's no escaping this story. Last week, another child shot up another school, this time in Oklahoma Junior High, where 4 were injured, and all the questions came gushing out at one time. At Columbine, some wounds are slow to heal. The old library is walled off, while the victims' families try to raise the money to replace it by building a new one. The students still have trouble with fire drills. Some report that kids are drinking more heavily now, saying more prayers, seeing more counselors. 550 visits so far this year. 24 students are homebound, unable, whether physically or emotionally, to come back to class yet. Tour bus groups have changed their routes to stop at the high school and stare. Some people have found a way to forgive, even parents who lost their beloved children, even kids who won't ever walk again, or speak clearly, or grow old together with the sister who died in the school lawn. But other survivors are still on a journey, through dark places of anger and suspicion, aimed at a government they fear wants to cover up the misjudgment of police, at a school that wants to shift blame at the killer's parents, who have stated their regrets in written statements issued through their lawyers, but who still aren't saying much, and who surely had to know something. It's easy now to see the signs, how a video game joystick turned Harris into a better marksman, like a golfer who watched Tiger Woods videos, how he decided to stop taking his looks off till his anger flare, undiluted by medication, how Klebold's violent essays for English class were like skywriting his intent. If only the parents had looked in the middle drawer of Harris's wind-up clocks. Or of his desk, they would have found the 4 wind-up clocks that he later used as timing devices. Check his duffel bag in the closet. The pipe bombs are inside. In his CD collection, they would have found a recording that meant so much to him that he willed it to a girl on his last videotaped suicide message. The name on the album? Bomb Threat Before She Blows. The problem is that, until April 20th, nobody was looking, and Harris and Klebold knew it. The basement tapes. The tapes were meant to be their final word to all those who had picked on them over the years, and to everyone who would come up with the theory about their inner demon. More rage. More rage. Harris says, "Keep building it on," he says, motioning with his hands for emphasis. Harris recalls how he moved around so much with his military family and always had to start over, at the bottom of the ladder. People continually made fun of him. My face, my hair, my shirts. As for Klebold, if he could see all the anger I've stored over the past 4 fucking years, he says, his brother Byron was popular and athletic and constantly ripped on him, as did the brother's friends. Except for his parents, Klebold says. His extended family treated him like the runt of the litter. "You made me what I am," he said. "You added to the rage." As far back as the Foothills Daycare Center, he hated the stuck-up kids. He felt hated. Being shy didn't help. He admits, "I'm gonna kill you all. You've been giving us shit for years." Klebold and Harris were completely soaked in violence, and movies like Reservoir Dogs and gory video games that they tailored to their imaginations. Harris liked to call himself Reb, short for Rebel. Klebold's nickname was Vodka, his favorite liquor, with a capital DK for his initials. On pipe bombs used in the massacre, he wrote Vodka Vengeance. They were aiming for 250 dead. Shows that their motives went far beyond targeting the people who teased them. They planned it very carefully. When they would strike, where they would put the bombs, whether the fire sprinklers would snuff out their fuses, so they could hardly wait. Harris picks up the shotgun and makes shooting noises. "Isn't it fun to get the respect that we're going to deserve?" he asks. The tapes are a cloudy window on their immortal order. They defend the friends who bought the guns for them, who Harris and Klebold say knew nothing of their intentions, as though they are concerned that innocent people not be blamed for their massacre of innocent people. If they hadn't got the guns where they did, Harris says, we would have found something else. They had many chances to turn back and many chances to get caught. They came close one day when an employee of Green Mountain Guns called Harris's house, and his father answered the phone. "Hey, your clips are in," the clerk said. His father replied that he hadn't ordered any clips, and as Harris retells it, didn't ask whether the clerk had dialed the right number. The warning signs. You can see there's a police officer, and sirens in the background. Wonderful. Excellent timing. The warning signs. You could fill a good-sized room with the people whose lives had been twisted into ropes of guilt by the events leading up to that awful day, and by the day itself. The teachers who read the essays but didn't hear the warnings. The cops who were tipped to Harris's poisonous website but didn't act on it. The judge and youth services counselor who put the boys through a year of community service after they broke into a van, and then concluded that they had been rehabilitated. Because so many people were being blamed and threatened with lawsuits, there are all kinds of public explanations designed to diffuse and defend. But there are private conversations going on as well, within the families, among the cops, in the teacher's lounge, where people are asking themselves what they could have done differently. Neil Gardner, the deputy assigned to the school, who traded gunfire with Harris, says he wished he could have done more, but with the criticism he had learned, you're not a hero unless you die. Nearly everyone who knew Harris or Klebold has asked themselves the same question. How could we have been duped? Yet the boys were not loners. They had a circle of friends. Harris played soccer until the fall of 1998, and Klebold was in the drama club. Just the week before the rampage, the boys had to write a poem for an English class. Harris wrote about stopping the hate and loving the world. Klebold went to the prom the weekend before the slaughter. Harris couldn't get a date, but joined him at the post-prom parties to celebrate with students they were planning to kill. To adults, Klebold had always come across as the bashful, nervous type who could not lie very well. Yet he managed to keep his dark side a secret. People have no clue, Klebold says on one videotape, but they should have. But they should have had. And this is one of the most painful parts of the puzzle, to look back and see the flashing red lights, especially regarding Harris, that no one paid attention to. No one except perhaps the Brown family.